Well, hello and welcome back for yet another instructional cooking video. Today I am going to demonstrate my technique for smoking a Boston butt. We're going to have nice tender pulled pork tomorrow. I am actually filming this portion of the video on Friday afternoon. We will be smoking the pork butt on Saturday, tomorrow. But I need to show you a preliminary step in the process that you have to do the day before. So, without further ado, today all you will need is your pork butt. This is about roughly 3.5 pounds. I actually bought, price of pork has finally come down. And last week Winn-Dixie had Boston butt on sale for 99 cents a pound, and when I went to the store, all they had were these huge, massive Boston butts, and the one I bought was 17 pounds. So what I did was I cut it into tried to get them into 4 equal pieces, and this 3.5 pound butt that we're going to do tomorrow is enough for, I would say, 4 people. It's going to be just the 2 of us, and we usually have leftovers the following day. What I have done prior to filming this video is I have trimmed off, there's usually a very thick layer of fat on the bottom of the butt, and I have trimmed that off. Didn't actually include that in the video. But for right now, all we are going to need is some regular yellow mustard. And this is my rub of choice. You can buy it at Costco, you can buy it at Publix, and it's simply called butt rub. And it's, it's got your standard ingredients, your paprika, black pepper, brown sugar, all that good stuff. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your mustard, and what you want to do, you're not going to really taste the mustard with the finished product. The mustard basically acts almost like an adhesive. It's gonna make make the rub stick to the meat a lot better. So, again, as usual, difficult to do this with one hand while holding the phone. So what I'm gonna do now is I am just gonna take this mustard and just coat the entire surface of the pork butt. Nice and simple. As you can see, there's still a little bit of fat on there. You still want a little bit of fat. You just don't want this huge chunk of fat, which is usually, you'll usually find that on the bottom. That makes it a little bit more difficult for the smoke and everything to penetrate the meat. Okay, you don't need that much mustard. We can kind of spread this out. Just make sure it's nicely coated and covers the entire surface. As Ricky from the Trailer Park Boys would say, this is not rocket appliances. Very simple. Okay, quick hand wash. And now we're just going to take our rub and actually, you know what, let's change sides here. Do not skimp on your rub. You can never have too much, in my opinion. And I should preface this video in a similar way that I did with my my Day of the Ribs series videos, and say that there is no right or wrong way to do a pork butt, just like there's no right or wrong way to do ribs. Again, this is simply, and I may be wasting rub here a little bit. This is just my technique that I use. And it took me a while at first when I would do a pork butt. It was hit or miss. Sometimes it would come out really good, other times, not so much. But I have now reached a point where I'm pretty consistent. Each time it comes out nice and tender, and I'm very happy with the results. And I have now coated the butt completely on all sides. You can see it's nice and evenly distributed. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to cover this with some aluminum foil and keep it in the fridge overnight. And then tomorrow morning, whenever I get my lazy ass out of bed after a grueling rehearsal with Dream Window tonight, we will start the cooking process. Now, one thing that I do like to do in the morning, about 2 hours before I start the butt, I like to take the pork out of the fridge and let it sit at room temperature for a couple of hours. What that's going to do is that's going to cut down on your total cooking time, because you don't like to put a cold piece of meat on your grill. So give it a little bit of time to try and get it as close to room temperature as you can before you actually put it on the smoker. So that is it for your preliminary steps. So we will see everybody again tomorrow morning, where we will actually be smoking the butt, which can take anywhere. Depends on, you know, sometimes I've done a butt this size, I've got it done in 6 hours. Sometimes it takes longer. You just never know. If you are going to do a pork butt, plan on the cooking occupying most of your day. But tomorrow we're going to have really good weather here in Florida. It's going to be nice, and I think it's going to be in the low 70s tomorrow, bright and sunny. So perfect weather to be barbecuing outside. So without further ado, we will see everybody tomorrow morning. Well, good morning. It is time to start cooking. It is about 7:45 on Saturday morning. Coffee does a body good, and not just any coffee, but genuine Tim Hortons coffee from the Great White North. Take off, you hoser. Anyhow, as I mentioned in the beginning, I have taken the butt out of the refrigerator. It's been sitting at room temperature. I took it out at about 4:30 this morning. I should mention right now that it is about 45 degrees outside, and I'm freezing my ass off. This Florida boy is not used to this type of cold this early in the morning. I should be back in bed under a blanket, but instead I'm out here getting ready to cook. Surprisingly up this early. Didn't get home till about 12:30 last night. Had a really good night of practice with Dream Window, and that's a plug for the band that I'm in. Check us out. We have music all over the different music platforms, and soon we will be doing some live gigs, and I'm real excited about this band. But back to the subject at hand, that we already have our charcoal going. Those coals will probably be ready, I would say, in another half hour or so. And we have, I'm going to just show you our cooking setup. This is pretty much the same setup that we had for the ribs. There we go. We have our hickory wood. I like to use cherry wood and mix that in occasionally. Unfortunately, I just did not have the time to get to the store and get any cherry wood, so we will be going exclusively with hickory wood today. Just got a new car, by the way, just in case you're interested. We have our firebox. That's where our coals and our wood will go. And let me put my coffee down real quick because I want to show you that I have already, the butt is actually already on here. There we go. and I have my thermometer probe to keep an eye on the temperature. Similar to ribs, and also to the water pan. And what the water pan is going to do is that's just going to create more moisture and prevent the pork from actually drying out during the smoking process. And I just totally lost my train of thought. Oh yes, temperature probe. The first, I would say 2, 3, maybe even 4 hours, your primary goal is to get as much smoke into that pork butt as you can. That's going to give it that nice pink smoke ring. Again, very similar concept to how you do ribs. Eventually, you'll hit a point, and just so I'm straight, I prefer to cook my pork butt until it reaches an internal temperature of 203 degrees. Don't ask me why, I just came up with that number arbitrarily. Pork is actually considered to be fully cooked at 165 degrees. However, what you want to do is you want to cook it even further, because at 165 the pork is going to be very tough. It's not going to be, we're not going to be able to pull it apart. The goal at the very end is to be able to take the pork butt and to just stick your hands in there and just start pulling it apart, and it just comes right off. And also too, I like to have a little bit of bark on my pork, that little crispy, to me that's the best part of the pork, is the little crispy bark. So 203, but what's going to end up happening is when you hit a temperature, an internal temperature of around 140, somewhere in that range, sometimes it happens sooner, you have what's called a stall, where the temperature just stays put for like an hour or two, and you just got to sit there and let it go through the process, and then eventually the temperature will start to rise. Eventually, once you've gotten enough smoke on here, what I do is I switch to my electric smoker, and the reason for that, and you've seen this before, the reason for that is you don't want to waste any more charcoal. At this point, when you put it in the electric smoker, you're just looking for a constant temperature. And my electric smoker does actually have a spot where you can put wood chips in, so you can still get some smoke on there. But at that point, you're just looking to get that temperature up. And then when it finally hits 203, what I'll do is I will take the thermometer probe and probe the pork butt in various spots to make sure that the entire butt has reached that temperature or even higher. And then after that, we will take the butt out, we will wrap it in aluminum foil, and we will place it in a cooler for about an hour to an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours, depending. If we get done early, it may be 2 hours in the cooler. That way you just let the pork just sit there and the juices just kind of redistribute. As I mentioned yesterday, pork butt can be very unpredictable as far as the amount of time that it's going to take. This one is about 3.5 pounds, so I'm not anticipating a lengthy cooking process, but you never know. It may be done at like 3 or 4 o'clock, and that's too early to eat dinner. We like to eat dinner, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Plus there's NFL playoff games on today, so got to keep that in mind as well. So again, you can keep it in the cooler for I would say a minimum of an hour, but that's, you know, that's later today, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So for right now, I am just freezing my ass off out here waiting for these coals to be ready, and when they are, we will dump them into the firebox, and we'll get the wood on there, and that will actually start the smoking process. So we will come back when the coals are ready, and we will go from there. Alrighty, as you can see, our coals are ready. They have been dumped into the firebox, and I've got about 3-4 good-sized chunks of hickory wood on there. That's what you want to start off with. So we're going to close that up. Ooh, got smoke in my eyes. So right now what we are going to be waiting for is, in the next minute or two, we're going to see some smoke start to billow out of the chimney there. And what you want to do right now is you want to keep an eye on the smoker. Here we go. Hold on. Let's switch back. I don't know how well you can see it, but we are starting to get some smoke out of there. You want to keep smoke coming out of here constantly, because as I mentioned before, you want that smoke is what's going to give the pork that nice pink smoke ring. Can we get a little closer there? By the way, I am shooting in 4K Ultra HD 60 frames per second. Ooh, okay, there we go. Now let's switch back. Now we are back to 4K Ultra HD 30 frames per second for those technical geeks out there. So as I said, right now you're just, oh, hang on. We got to switch back again. Now we're getting some circ here. Oh yeah, baby, there we go. That's what you want to see. So you're just going to keep an eye on your smoker. Usually that amount of wood that I just put in will last a good 20 to 30 minutes, maybe even more. And then when the smoke starts to dissipate, all you're going to do is you're going to go back and you're going to add some more wood to the fire. And that's pretty much it for a while. There's really not much else to do. Like I said, smoke is the key. You want smoke. The smoke gives it a nice barbecue flavor. And I keep mentioning that pink smoke ring over and over again, mentioning it ad nauseum. But that is very important for your barbecue. Okay, now we've got what we want. That is what you want to see. And you want to just keep that, maintain that. And eventually, you know, we'll have to add more wood. But we've got plenty here. As I said before, normally I will mix in some cherry wood, but time constraints prevented that from happening this go around. But I can assure you the pork's gonna be very delicious. And in fact, there's different types of wood. Some people like to use apple wood. Some people use pecan wood. Whatever your preference is. I like hickory. First of all, I just tell you that it smells wonderful out here. This is when the neighbors start to get jealous because they smell that hickory wood burning mixed in with the pork, and it's like, oh man, what's he cooking today? In fact, a gentleman and his wife just came walking by while I was out here getting my coals ready. He says, I'm doing ribs today. What are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing a pork butt. So we're both going to make the neighborhood jealous. So I will be checking back periodically throughout the day, showing you the progress of our pork butt. And let's flip back over here, a rear camera view. There we go, baby. That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Oh, pardon the mess in our garage. We still haven't put our Christmas decorations away yet. We are total slackers, but another story for another day. We'll be working on that. We have a nice long holiday weekend this weekend. Oh, I should also mention too your cooking temperature. This with charcoal and wood, sometimes it can be hard to regulate, but I like to keep my temperature, my cooking temperature for the smoker somewhere. It's slowly rising. I like to keep it somewhere in the neighborhood of 210, 225, somewhere in that range. Now, on a day like today, it's cold right now. As I mentioned earlier, it's in the mid 40s. It's going to warm up though into the 70s. But when you do have cooler temperatures, that can tend to keep your temperature down on your smoker. So what you may end up having to do is use more coals, light more coals, put more wood on there. It happens. But it's going to warm up into the 70s today, so eventually that's not going to be as much of an issue. But right now it's still pretty chilly. So that will do it for this portion of the video. As I mentioned, we're just give you another look here. 360 panoramic view of the smoker. Yeah. I'm going to be a filmmaker when I retire, or not. But this is pretty much what we're going to be doing now for the next 2 or 3 hours. Just keeping an eye on the smoker, making sure that there's a constant flow of smoke coming out of that chimney, because you think about all that smoke that's coming out, that's all going through your meat. And in about 7 or 8 hours, when it comes time to pull that pork apart, all that smoke is going to pay dividends. Some delicious pulled pork. So we will be checking back later on. Right now our temperature of the butt has not moved. It still shows 48 degrees, so we got a long way to go. Long morning and afternoon ahead of us. But we will be back in a little while. Okay, quick update. As you can see, our temperature is slowly rising. We're up to 78 degrees. Still have a very long way to go. One thing I didn't mention earlier, when your temperature on your smoker starts to drop a little bit, and if you're using charcoal, it's a good idea to go ahead and get some more coals going, which I do right now. If you trust me, on the other side of the car, there's a chimney with some burning coals in there. You'll just have to take my word for it. But just wanted to lift this up and give you a quick idea of what the butt looks like at this point. You can see, obviously still got a long ways to go, but that's what it looks like right now. So we're going to close this back up because we don't want to lose all that smoke. And I would say in another hour or so, you'll start to see a nice red color start to develop on the outside of the pork butt. And as I mentioned earlier, once the temperature gets to around somewhere between 130 and 140, you're going to start to see the temperature just kind of stall out and just kind of sit there for an hour. Sometimes it takes even longer. Sometimes it takes less time. It just, like I mentioned earlier, pork butt, there's a lot of variables involved. The key to doing a good pork butt is you have to have patience. This is not something that you do. This is an all-day affair, and you need to prepare yourself for that. But the reward is when you start pulling that pork and you start tasting that nice smoky barbecue pork. It's well worth the effort. So we'll be back probably in another hour and a half, and I'll give you an update then. And then I would say probably another couple hours from now, we will probably be transferring the pork butt over to the electric smoker for the rest of the day. So that's where we are right now, and we will see you soon. All right, so we are back for another update. It's getting close to noon, so the butt has been on now for about 3.5 hours or so, and we are now at about 121 degrees, I believe that says. Yes, and this is what our butt looks like right now. And as I mentioned before, now you're starting to see that nice red color. What we're going to do here, I'm going to throw some more wood on the fire, and pretty soon we are going to be transferring over to the electric smoker, which I have now turned on and warming it up. I've set it to about 250 degrees. And we're still in the process of trying to get quite a bit of smoke onto the meat. So I would say we're going to leave it on here for another hour. And pretty soon we're going to hit that temperature stall that I mentioned earlier, where the temperature is just going to stall out. And that's usually when I move it over to the electric smoker and finish it off there. And it will stay in the electric smoker for the duration of the process until it hits that magic temperature of 203. I will also be moving the water pan into the box as well, because you want to maintain that moisture and you don't want the pork to dry out at all. So that's where we're at now, and are starting to get more smoke here from that wood that I just dropped in. And the next time you'll see me, we will be going ahead and moving the butt from the big rig to the little box here. So we will see you back probably in another hour or so. Alrighty then. The temperature stall actually happened a little early today. The temperature on the butt stalled out at 123, and it's been sitting there for a while. So what we have done is we have relocated our pork butt into the electric smoker along with our water pan for moisture. So we will go ahead and close this up. I've set the temperature on here to about 250 degrees, and it is going to sit in there for the rest of the afternoon until it hits the magic number of 203. So at that time we will take it out, we will wrap it in aluminum foil, and we will stick it in the cooler for at least an hour, possibly longer. And also what we will do, I don't know how well I'm going to be able to film this, but this little doodad pops out, and because we still want to try and generate some smoke, so what we're going to do, oops, get in there. Always a blooper. Never fails. There's at least one in every cooking video I do. Okay, that's good. So now we'll generate a little bit of smoke. I want to close this vent. Get it right there, where there's just a little bit of smoke escaping out. And that's it. So now it's pretty much, there's not a whole lot to be done. Just sit there, and then our thermometer will start beeping when it hits 203. I would venture to guess that that's not going to happen probably for another 3 hours, possibly longer. Who knows? But when it does hit 203, we will be back, and I will show you how we wrap the butt, and we'll be almost finished. So we'll see you then. Okay, as you can see, it is dark now. This pork butt has been very stubborn. It has taken forever, but we have finally hit 203 degrees. I want to let everybody know that 203 is just my personal preference for a desired temperature. Your results may vary. As I said earlier, pork is considered cooked at 165. But I like to have my pork butt a little crispy, a little bit of bark, and make it, the higher the temperature, the easier it is to pull. So some people will cook theirs to like 175, 180, and if that was the case, we'd have been done about 2 hours ago. So anyhow, here we go. This is what it looks like. This just came out of the smoker. You can see that nice little bit of crispy crustiness right there. So now all we're going to do is we are going to wrap it in aluminum foil, nice and tight. And into the cooler it goes. And it will sit there for 1 hour. And it'll just sit there and hang out. All the juices will just kind of redistribute. And in 1 hour we will take it out and we will show you the finished product. It's been a long, long day. But anyway, it's a labor of love, like I always say. So in 1 hour, we will be pulling the pork and you will see the finished product. So we'll see you then. Okay, first of all, no cooking video of mine would be complete unless we had a cameo appearance from one of our fur babies. And that's our little munchkin. Now, here comes Ziggy. So we're gonna get at least 2 out of the 3. And that's Mary's feet. I am going to pass the camera off now because after 12 hours hard labor, here we go. This is what we've been waiting for. Oh, man. Look at that. I squirt this stuff all over the place. And bear with me because these gloves are very thin and my fingers are burning. But as we've talked about throughout the day, look at that bark. Can you get that? That is, oh, that's the best part of pork. So basically what we're going to do is, I probably should let this cool off a little bit. As I said, my hands are burning. But eventually, we're just going to gradually pull all of this pork, and that will be our finished product. Oh, what do we got? Oh, we get a Fripp sighting. All right, so the whole family made an appearance today. Well, sort of. So all you're going to do is pull and pull some more, and finally, this is what our pork butt looks like. And I also mentioned earlier, you can see some of that pink in there. I don't know if you can get that or not. Once again, we are filming in 4K HD, 60 frames per second. It's high def, Ricky. This is definitely going on my reel. Fans of the Trailer Park Boys would appreciate that last quote. So, this is it, folks. This is what we slaved over a hot grill for 12 hours for today. And you just want to keep pulling it and pulling it and pulling it, and the pork too, until it's all nice and loose and ready to eat. And that's about it. So anyway, thank you again for tuning in. And as always, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Hit me up. And we will see you for our next cooking video, whenever that might be. And also subscribe to my channel for some great music drum videos. And also, shameless plug for Dream Window. Check out our Facebook page. We have music on Spotify, various platforms. We will be doing live material soon, and we will keep everyone posted. So there we go. Take care, everyone. See you next time.